Okay, welcome. Thank you. I want to express great gratitude for Jim Garrison and Rick Buckley, along with Ubiquity University and Humanity Rising, for broadcasting all of the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit panels, and for offering master's degree scholarships in peace and tolerance, as well as regenerative action to our volunteers in honor of our dear friend Avon Madison from Pathways to Peace for the 11 Days of Global Unity. I and we greatly appreciate your partnership and collaboration. My name is Rick Ulfik, and I'm the founder of We the World and the We campaign at we.net. And I'm the co-creator of 11 Days of Global Unity with my dear friend, Troy Lush. You can find out about all of the 11 Days of Global Unity broadcasts and events by going to we.net. And we invite you to collaborate with us as a volunteer or as an organization partner as well. Just go to we.net. Today, for our 11 Days of Global Unity Summit panel on environment, I'd like to bring in my dear friend and co-host, Sue Blythe. Sue Blythe is coordinator of the Environment Campaign of We the World and founder of the Climate Collaboratory, a pilot project of We the World and the University of Florida Extension's Sustainable Floridians program. So Sue, welcome to the broadcast and give us a context for the whole discussion today. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rick. And it's just really wonderful to be here today during the 11 Days of Global Unity. And we're introducing the Gardens of Global Unity as a project incubator. And so what I'm going to be describing today is the seed idea that we've been growing in the Garden of Environment for 2 years now. And what we have is a climate collaboratory, again, a pilot project of We the World and the University of Florida Extension. And every one of us alive on this planet today has a climate story to tell. And together, we're living the story that will be told for many generations to come. We want to engage people of all ages in creating a climate of peace on and with the earth. And we do that by shining a light on people who are already making a difference, helping to create a world that works for all living things. It's 100% of humanity and the community of life on earth. Today, we're going to hear from 4 women who are already living in their own culture of peace. I'll introduce each of them, and then we'll share the framework that I see them in. So Ann Adams has worked with many educational institutions and Fortune 50 companies, both nationally and internationally, for more than 30 years. Anne is the founder of Integrality, contributing to the integral way of being, knowing, and living, cultivating a worldview which recognizes the interconnected quality of all of life. She's a leader at Elders Action Network, dedicated to educating and activism aimed at achieving greater social and environmental justice in our American society. Angela Terrell has distinguished herself for 48 years as a strong advocate of arts education. Angela's passion for music is a melody she's followed all her life. Her ultimate goal is to expose our young people to the arts through acting, instrumental, and vocal music experiences, and all art forms. She gives of her own resources, time, and commitment to ensure the arts are available to children throughout her community, which is my community, Gainesville, Florida. So thank you for that, Angela. And we're happy to have you here, and welcome. So our third speaker is Sherry Stark. She's a West Coast journalist as well as a member of the Southern California chapter of Elders Climate Action, a national environmental elder activist group. She's going to talk to us today about some of the ways elders are collaborating with youth groups, supporting and calling attention to what young people have to say about this global crisis. And welcome, Sherry. The Reverend Amy Brooks Paradise is a Unitarian Universalist minister and currently serves as a U.S. organizer with Green Faith. She has served as the Director of Education with Charlotte's Regional AIDS Interfaith Network, with the Mecklenburg Interfaith Ministry, and on the board of the UU Justice Ministry of North Carolina. She lives in Huntersville, North Carolina, with her partner, daughter, and 2 doggies. And so welcome all of you. We're just delighted to have you here. And here in the Garden of Environment, We the World has been growing this seed idea for more than 2 years. And we started a couple of years ago with an idea that we wanted to use the Earth Charter as a kind of the umbrella for an education program about the climate and helping people to live in peace with people and planet, all living things. So I'd like to take a minute to give you a look at the big picture of what we're doing, and that is with the Earth Charter. I'll share my screen. And this is the Earth Charter. It was crafted by visionaries 20 years ago. And I should say that was after a decade of, or almost a decade of global consultation with thousands of people coming to what I feel is just a really poetic statement. It's a document with 16 principles that turn conscience into action. It seeks to inspire in all people a new sense of global interdependence and shared responsibility for the well-being of the whole human family, the greater community of life, and future generations. It's a vision of hope and a call to action. And so each of our friends today has answered that call, and we're going to learn a little about what they're doing. So let me read to you the preamble of the Earth Charter. It says, "We stand at a critical moment in Earth's history, a time when humanity must choose its future. As the world becomes increasingly interdependent and fragile, the future at once holds great peril and great promise. To move forward, we must recognize that in the midst of a magnificent diversity of cultures and life forms, we are one human family and one Earth community with a common destiny. We must join together to bring forth a sustainable global society founded on respect for nature, universal human rights, economic justice, and a culture of peace. Toward this end, it is imperative that we, the peoples of Earth, declare our responsibility to one another, to the greater community of life, and to future generations." So the preamble goes on, and you'll see it talks about the challenges, our responsibility, and it comes down to the 4 pillars of the Earth Charter. They're respect and care for the community of life, ecological integrity, social and economic justice, democracy, nonviolence, and peace. And it's this last pillar that I would like to go into for the work that we're doing today. So here we are. There, under each of those, there are 4 principles, and I'm going to scroll down to this last one. This is principle 16F. tucked in at the very end that says, we recognize that peace is the wholeness created by right relationships with oneself, other persons, other cultures, other life, earth, and the larger whole of which all are a part. And our work today is coming up to principle number 14. That is to integrate into formal education and lifelong learning the knowledge, values, and skills needed for a sustainable way of life. And you'll see that there are 4 sub-principles, and this is the work that we're doing today, because each of the women that I've invited to join us has a wonderful way of showing, demonstrating through their own life work what each of these principles looks like in action. And so I'm really excited to introduce each of you. So the first one is to provide all, especially children and youth, with educational opportunities that empower them to contribute actively to sustainable development. And I know that Ann Adams, you have been involved in this issue of lifelong learning for quite some time. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how you see this principle in action.
Thank you, Sue. As you can tell by my face, I'm really excited about being invited today. So thank you very much for including me. I'm going to talk specifically about 2 different things, but the first thing I want to tell everybody, for me, when I think about this conversation, it's for me the most important conversation given what's going on in our country, in our world today. And it has to do with looking at the way in which our education, the system of education, the way in which we educate so far, it's really not addressing the whole environment that you're talking about in terms of how do you create an environment of peace. So the first thing I want to point to, and this is just a little academic, but not too long, is to look at this whole notion of what does education really mean? And there are 2 very different definitions of education. One of them is really about, acquiring knowledge, skills, habits, belief systems. And that's really the one that most of our education system has grabbed hold of and really have hung on for dear life. There's a whole nother one, and it's from Educare, which is to lead out, to draw out. And in that definition, you can get a sense that there is an implicit, sense of the fact that there is actually something in every human being that's very unique. No one has those unique contributions like they do, like we do. So the idea is how do we create educations in a way where they can begin to really get a sense of how do you relate to every single student, every single human being, like there is a unique contribution out there to make. How do we relate to that? So one of my intentions for the work that I've been doing is literally looking at education from the time a young person starts, nursery school, kindergarten, all the way through to graduating from high school, and asking the question, what could we be doing as parents, as communities, as teachers, administrators, so that literally young people learn from very, very early, oh, I'm being listened to. Oh, I'm being seen. Oh, I'm being known. So that there's something that happens there. And obviously it's very age appropriate along the way, but there's a sense of like, wow, and then they also learn how do they listen to others. And a lot of the listening that I've been doing all the way through as an educator, I've been an educator for close to 40 years in all different aspects, whether it's the schools or it's in corporations or it's in communities. And the idea behind it is the more we listen, the more we notice that there's something happening that's got to do with collaborative wisdom. So that's one area that I wanted to leave everybody with to get a sense of how would you all like to look at your lives with your families, your grandchildren, your children, the work that you're doing, and bring that quality of listening into whatever environment you're in. So you begin to notice that if we want to have a culture of peace, people have to have a sense of peace of themselves. If they know that there's this unique contribution that's there, but somehow they're not related to like that, how do you think that shows up later on? It kind of is like it doesn't fit. So the second thing I want to share too, and this came out of a vision quest that I did in Death Valley. And the whole message that the universe was giving me, Mother Nature was saying, education's not keeping its promise. Education's not keeping its promise. And at the end of this 10 days, I was sobbing. I was just sobbing. It's like, oh my gosh. And I went on and became into a whole program in my PhD program, really searching for what are the programs that are there? What are the communities that are actually generating a different quality of human being? And I looked at and I found that there were programs around the United States and in India where they were bringing forth 4 very, very specific aspects of us. The physical. There's actually a physical body here. Oh, and it has some intelligence. Oh, my goodness. And then there's emotional intelligence. Oh, I can really relate to my emotions with intelligence. And then, of course, there's the mental. And then there's a spiritual intelligence that really surrounds all of us. And so the more I studied and developed those, I realized when we look at our current education, there's not a whole lot of entree into that conversation. Who am I in each of these individual intelligences, but also who am I when they get connected? There's a coherency. So again, I'm offering that as an educator, these 2 areas of distinguishing the quality of education, that education really is about our job is to create space where we can draw out this incredible, unique contribution that every single human being has all over the world. And that we also have those 4 intelligences, and that to look to notice, like, how are they being developed and how are they being integrated? So what happens is we have human beings walking around and they're more peaceful and they notice where it's there. They can bring something into it. They notice how they can contribute to the conversations. There's just a whole different quality of human being. So I'm going to leave you with this one thing about education is that please look and notice your own listening of everyone around you. And then just notice wherever you are, begin to watch and see what's the quality of listening there. Is this listening bringing forth a quality of peace? So thank you.
And that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And I wanted to just ask about how your role as an educator has shifted into your new, I know that you consider yourself an elder and you're working with a group called Elders Action Network.
Yes, thank you.
About that.
I'll just share a little bit about that. Yes, I really am an elder. And for those of you that are eldering, you know that it's a journey and you know that there's no such thing as I've arrived. It's constantly looking. So there is a number of us, many thousands all over the United States, particularly some in Canada and a few in some of the foreign countries that have joined. And the whole purpose of it is to really catalyze, to mobilize elders to begin to ask these questions, like, who am I? And what do I want to uniquely contribute in these last years? So I've taken a vow that I just really want to live to be 100. So I have 23 more years. And I just like, okay, what am I going to do about that? How am I going to live my life in that way? And we have 4 programs in the Elder Action Network that just quickly I'll tell you. One's called Regenerative Living, which takes us beyond sustainability. That, it's one thing to sustain, but as you look around the world and around our countries, like sustaining is not doing it. So we're learning how to regenerate. How do you speak and how do you listen in a way where something new can show up together? There's another one called the Climate Action, which is all the different elders around the United States going in and making calls to legislators, protesting, making sure that everybody in the corporate world knows that they're watching, and that kind of a thing. There's one called Sound Democracy, which I've been part of for a long time, as we're really looking at making calls, making sure that we're talking to people in different states to see how they can vote. So we're taking on very specific things so that we're watching very carefully in the states. And the last one is social justice. So there's a lot of elders that are really coming up together to really looking at all the things that have happened in the United States with Black Lives Matter, with the Indigenous Indians, and just also as white to begin to ask the question like, well, who are we in all of this? So it's been very exciting to be with them. And they're the kind of thing, as you can tell as I'm speaking, it's very energizing. So the more you step in, it's like, okay, I can stay alive for 23 more years. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anne. And I'll tell you what, my goal is I want to live to be 103, and not just because Jiminy Cricket sang that when I was
Okay, well, I'll
But-
see you on the journey, Sue. I'll see you
but
on the journey.
the reason I want to do that is I'd like to live to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Earth Charter in the year 2050. And in fact, that's a story that I tell in my imagination. I am there telling my great grandchildren about the time that we're living in now, right?
Oh, great,
And
yes.
helping them to get a sense that they're doing something day by day that's really historic.
Yeah.
And we are telling that as a story with children. In fact, this afternoon at 6 o'clock Eastern, we're going to be talking with some of the children who are going to read Act 2 of a play, a musical play that is just a concept right now, but we have some wonderful people helping. And I would like to bring in Angie Terrell, who is with the Star Center Theater and has done a lot with children's arts productions. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about this second part of our Principle 14 that talks about promoting the contribution of the arts and humanities as well as the sciences in sustainability education.
Thanks again for inviting me today. Hello, all. I'm happy about the fact that Sue shared that the inception of us being here today came to her more than, 15 or 20 years ago. And I'm just so glad that it's happening today and that I'm a part of it. I'd like to start off by saying art plays a major role in integrating skills, knowledge, and values that are needed for a sustainable way of life. And we can't ever forget about the humanities and the scientists and the sciences, because guess what? If we were listening to the scientists right now, we would not be in the situation that we're in, but that's another platform. Anyway, for the past 50 years plus, I've enjoyed working with children grades pre-K through 12, utilizing the arts as a vehicle for educating and creating climates of peace. I have fond memories of the past experiences with children back in the late 60s and the 70s and the 80s, when public schools made art education a priority. Every elementary school had an art teacher, had a music teacher. These teachers were given quality time to plan school-wide units that sometimes concentrated on arts and cultures of other countries. And then we would do units of study where the kids would learn about each other, whether there were people just like them or people who had differences. And it would end up in a culmination activity of an art fair, a dramatic and musical productions. But somehow, as we began the 21st century, things began to change. Around 2001, high-stake testing, and especially statewide testing here in the state of Florida, it took over the public school system, and it took over by storm. Suddenly, the arts programs began to take a back seat, and students were given less time to engage in the arts, to engage in the humanities, to spend time with exploration in the sciences. By the year 2015, I know this for a fact that in some schools, especially elementary schools, if students had done poorly on the statewide testing, their art classes were taken away and replaced with extra reading classes. And I can't begin to tell you what that did to their self-worth, to their sense of belonging. But however, in every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. So later on, after school programs began to pop up and become popular at schools, especially here in my county. And the schools would do contractual agreements with community organizations to provide arts activities for their after-school programs. The programs here in Alachua County, like the Gainesville Association of the Creative Arts, it was founded by Norma Holman. These programs were placed in all the elementary schools where kids could have equal access, no matter if they attended the East Gainesville schools or the West Gainesville schools. Scholarships were provided for underserved students, and suddenly the arts and the humanities had an integral part in learning, and we moved back to a central focus of educating the whole child, not just being concerned about passing a high-stake test. Moving forward to 2017, up until this present time, I have had an amazing opportunity to connect with children all over Gainesville and throughout Alachua County. And the first platform that I would like to share with you that I'm involved in is the Star Center Children's Theater, where Rhonda Wilson is the founder and the artistic director. And I serve as public relations officer, and I also serve as a summer camp coordinator. So now on this awesome platform where children are given an opportunity to sparkle and shine, throughout the school year, we provide Saturday workshops for our star kids, and they engage in Broadway musicals and theater productions. They're also given opportunities to create poetry and stories and plays and to share it with their peers. And throughout this process, they develop trust and respect for each other. And of course, what does this do? It leads to a positive atmosphere and a climate of peace, because everybody is agreeing, everyone is getting along, and everybody is serving their community together. For an example, before the pandemic struck or came into our midst, Star Kids would perform at the University of Florida's Phillips Center of the Performing Arts, and we would do it about twice a year. Initially, we would only involve middle and elementary schools of Alachua County, and they would come to our performances and just be ecstatic about what they would leave with. But for our December 2019 performance, we reached out to schools in the neighboring and surrounding counties, such as Putnam County, Marion, Bradford, Levy, just to name a few. The responses were tremendous. In order to serve all of the students who attended, we had to increase the number of shows. More than 2,300 students attended our musical production. And afterwards, after the performance, a survey was given that they answered and responded to. And in that, they expressed their feelings about the production, as well as their desire to return for more shows. So just think about this. This little band of kids from the Star Center Children's Theater come together, create a climate of peace there at the theater. And then they reach out, spread their wings all over Alachua County first, and branch out to other counties and touch the lives of this many children. I tell you, the Star Kids left with a great sense of accomplishment and self-worth, because their production had created a climate of peace and had touched the lives of more than 2,300 students. We really want to continue duplicating this process. And I agree with Anne when she said that, sustainability is very important, but we can't forget about the importance of regeneration. So we must regenerate this process, duplicate this process. So as those kids who are at Star Center Theater grow up to be adults, those coming behind them will still create a climate of peace. So therefore, we've been invited back to the Phillips Center, and they've scheduled a performance for December of 2021. And of course, we all know, of course, our ability to move forward with this, it will really be based on the CDC and the Alachua County guidelines for the coronavirus and its variants. but we're excited that we have an opportunity to move forward and to continue this platform and to regenerate it for generations to come. Another platform that I would like to share is Caring and Sharing Learning School. And this school is so unique because the principal goes out of his way to make programs available to every child, to every family. This school was founded by my good friends, Dr. Simon and Mrs. Verna Johnson, and they put this platform together more than 20 years ago. And right now in Alachua County, they are known for their STEM program. When everything else was failing during the pandemic, and when people were just worried about passing that high state test, they worked hard with organizations in this county and put together a STEM program where kids all over Alachua County come to them during the summer, and they have hands-on experiences and they go on field trips. And what is this doing? It's getting them involved in the sciences. And you know that STEM covers everything, the sciences, the technology, engineering. And we made it STEAM because we added the arts as well as, math is a part of that. And so not only that, but I'm the fine arts director for their after-school their after-school program, their arts program. And we kind of call it the Arts ASAP, Arts After School Program. So we call it ASAP. So for the ASAP program, we've been in existence for about 4 years. And through this platform, we engage kids in African drumming, violin lessons, piano lessons, visual arts, dance, and the list goes on. And I don't know how Mr. Peterson does it, but he makes it affordable for all the families. Those kids participate in this program for only $20 a month. There's an additional fee if they take the violin lessons, which is what, $40 a month? That's almost like what, $1 a day to have a good life. Isn't that great? But through this program, kids interact with each other, and this program has almost become like a fine arts magnet for Alachua County, because these kids are in high demand from organizations all over Alachua County. Whenever they're having special occasions or special events, our kids are called on to do their African dancing, to do their African drumming, to bring their instruments and play, to do choral singing. And so throughout of Alachua County, the youth and the students of Caring and Sharing Learning School are known for their humanities and their arts productions. And we cannot forget the great job that they're doing with their STEM program. So in this same program, the art teacher, Mr. Ernest Lee, he studied with the Highwaymen of Florida. So he took that genre and brought it to our students. And he's involved them in a art contest for the past 4 years for the Alachua County. And it's called Saving My Alachua. And over 300 kids from all over the schools, whether they're private or charter or public schools, they join into this art contest. And in this art contest, the themes for drawing and painting are all centered around the protection of wildlife, our lakes, our rivers, all of our natural resources, and to promote clean air, recycling, and keeping our county and our country beautiful. All of the art projects are put on display for parents and for the community to come and see at the Alachua County Courthouse. And it's a big event for the families and children. After that, a small group of people look at those 300 projects and they narrow them down and choose about 24 of those projects to go into Saving My Alachua County calendar. And although that there are only 24 spots, our little school of only about 150 to 200 kids, we get into that calendar every year. Of those 24 spots, we usually secure anywhere from 5 to 7 spots every year. And I have a calendar here for this year, Saving My Alachua 2021. Our kids' arts projects are in here. We have about 7 of our students that were chosen. And they have things anywhere from cleaning the air to saving our earth and all of those kinds of things. So this has been a wonderful way for our kids to give back, to be very focused on the fact that we've got to save this planet. Because when their children come along, they would like to have an opportunity to live here as well. So I'm very proud of the work that's being done at Caring and Sharing Learning School. And I just have one other project that I would like to share that I'm involved in. And this is with Miss Anamika Pranka-Koren. She is a local musician who has started an orchestra. Her adult orchestra is called an ensemble. So she is now starting the youth ensemble, which is called YAS. And I'm excited because they have their first meeting today at Caring and Sharing School because they didn't have a place to meet. My principal, Mr. Peterson, is giving them space. And we meet today starting at 4 o'clock. We send out invites all over Alachua County. We have about 15 students who have responded. So those 15 will be meeting today. I'm excited about this journey with them and how they're going to learn and grow and what they're going to bring to this platform of the arts and how they are going to spread their wings and fly and perform and share their talents and their gifts throughout the Alachua County area and who knows, the world at large. And so as we do these things, we have to realize that the children of Gainesville are engaging in the arts. They are a part of the science culture. They are a part of the humanities. And their contributions to create a climate of peace are being manifested as they touch the lives of others with their songs, their dances, their paintings, their stories, in their daily lives. So listen, peace begins within our hearts. It grows to our minds. It manifests through our will and spreads through our actions. This I got from Anna Prera, and she's from thewellnessuniverse.com. And I wanted to say that because as I work with the students of Alachua County and all of Gainesville, I see this happening, and it starts in their hearts and the change and the growing of their minds. And it spreads so much that each one reaches one until what we're gonna do is reach that global unity that we're looking for a climate of peace. And then I have one final quote, and it is from Quincy Jones. And what he says, peace is possible around the world, and children are the answer. So on that note, I'd like to thank you for inviting me, and I've enjoyed sharing with you.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Angie. It's just wonderful to hear the way you inspire all these children. Your glowing presence is just such a big part of all the success of what's going on there. It's beautiful to see. And so I want to continue. Actually, what occurred to me as you're talking is you start with your little theater and your after school program, and you make it reach wider and wider, not only through the whole city and then the county, but you're going out to other counties. And I'd like to say that here we are in the era of Zoom, and able to get these kids into the wider world. So that brings us to the next part about the role of the mass media. And the Earth Charter asks us to enhance the role of the mass media in raising awareness of ecological and social challenges. And Sherry, I know that you have lots of experience as a journalist, and you've helped to get the word out about some of the programs that you're involved with. And why don't you tell us a little about what's going on there? Oh, and you're muted.
Yes, I'm really good at media and I can never remember to unmute myself. Thank you very much, Sue. Wow, first of all, I want to just say being part of this panel and the energy that is being expressed here is just amazing, and I'm honored to be a part of it. I'm a journalist, and my background has been in print publishing, newspapers and magazines. And I've also been making videos for YouTube for a few years, interviewing people that I find inspiring, people working to make the world a better place. This past year and a half, I've focused most of my stories on the Elders Action Network that you were hearing about before. We're a few of us are members. It's a national group of volunteers, and it's a very inspiring group of people to work with. They're working for a number of causes that I care deeply about, from the environment to our democracy to social justice. I've done a few press releases, but mostly I've been focused on making videos because the personalities of the people, their passion and spunk is so vibrant in videos. And that's what really draws people in to listen and care, getting to know the people as well as hearing their ideas. I really think that the climate crisis, as well as many of our other global issues, need to use media better. And I'm somewhat critical about the way that these issues are covered. We need to broadcast our concerns more thoughtfully and more effectively. And it's my goal to help empower more of us to take media into our own hands. Being part of this panel is one example of how Zoom is being used to communicate these ideas more globally. The silver lining to the pandemic actually has been that by necessity, we've all become more media savvy, adjusting our computer cameras and remembering to unmute ourselves, communicating with each other at great distances, getting to know people that we never would have otherwise, and getting to express ourselves on the global stage. The technology is cheaper, easier to use, and better than ever before. I'm happy to be part of this growing team of citizen journalists or climate spokespeople that are coming to the forefront. And I want to help pass it along, help train others to take the leap, experiment with telling their own stories and sharing them with the world. I'm hoping to work with the elders in my Elders Action Group, but also with the youth, sharing the reporting tools I've learned in my career as a journalist with the kids, and hopefully learning more about social media tools from them. I'm sure you all know about the rising number of young climate activists coming onto the scene and how incredibly media savvy they are, such as Adrian Alvarez, an 11-year-old environmental podcaster that I've had the pleasure of being interviewed by. You'll hear more about him probably today. I met him through Sue Blythe. I feel we really owe it to the younger generation to support them, to look for ways to empower them to be heard and paid more attention to. And I'm happy to see our generation is starting to step up to the plate with this. You see many examples of it around the world. I had the pleasure of attending a couple of worldwide United Nations conferences this summer with youth interacting live from other countries that have been particularly hard hit by climate change. It was hosted by the International Institute for Child Rights and Development, and the technology they used was just amazing. And it was facilitated by a couple of other Elders Action Climate folk with high-tech backgrounds. They called it the Youth Earth Rights WebEx platform, and it was similar to Zoom, but it also had some even more modern things that it was exciting to be part of. It was phenomenal to experience. Had instant translation between all the countries, so everyone was able to interact seamlessly in real time. Another inspiring example of elders helping youth, it has been Sue Blythe, our co-host, who talked a little bit about this project she's spearheading, using drama and games to empower young people to tell their stories, using creativity to explore fun ways to learn about and cope with this challenging subject. The main message I feel we all need to help spread throughout the media is that there are solutions, and there are a lot of people already working on them. We need to reassure people that we think we can solve this. We have to offset the doom and gloom news that the media tends to focus on with hope, or people just tune out of fear and grief. Hearing passionate people, hearing each other talk about the work we're doing and that we're excited to be doing communicates the idea that we can fix things and gives us hope and momentum. I'm very critical, as I said, of my profession, in that it's become very profit-oriented and alarmist and sensational, focusing on broken things, not solutions. There have been studies showing that the solutions-oriented stories that we do see cross boundaries. People of all ages and parties respond to and learn from them. Even if they don't get behind the idea right away, they at least don't back away from it defensively. Not only are they more open-minded about that subject, but they're more likely to feel a general sense of hope as well. Statistics and research, as useful as they are not how we process new information. No matter how educated we are, we all hear new information with our gut, not our heads. One resource that I want to share, I want to draw attention to, is a workshop by a journalist named Eve Simmons, who brilliantly calls herself the Green Flash. Very memorable handle. She talks about how to use social media to influence mainstream journalists to cover the subject more effectively, how to lobby them, basically, seeking out reporters who are covering the subject, following their work, and then feeding them ideas and resources to help make the coverage better. Now, we can take responsibility for spreading the word throughout our friends, throughout our networks and communities, but also directly to media. Elders Climate Action has a lot of these kind of resources already on their site, workshops on how to write letters to the editor, opinion pieces, how to get them published, and also how to listen better to those you disagree with, because that taking an approach with these stories that are not preaching, but are inclusive is a lot more effective. They also have a whole page of age-appropriate videos and books to share with young people in your lives, how to talk to them about climate change. I hope to add to these resources as well, come up with more ideas of how we can take mainstream media or all media into our own hands. I want to maybe develop a story resource. So the idea is an interactive run sheet of Elders Action Network members and others with story ideas that they'd be appropriate to interview for. This network has so many experts in various disciplines who care about making the world better. It's a never-ending supply of story ideas. So I'm excited to help spread ideas to get more of their stories out. I also want to create a toolkit for members to make their own projects with links to YouTube tutorials on how to become better podcasters or video producers. In these projects, maybe we just ask them about their volunteer work and give them a series of questions and let them make their own selfies to share. Maybe edit them into pieces, but also just have them be shareable for them to use in their networks. It's not necessarily meant that everyone has to get huge audiences, but just talking to each other about what we're doing is just very wonderful. I made a similar selfie myself. I spoke into the camera about becoming a vegetarian for the planet. And I used a teleprompter so I could not have to memorize my lines. And I'm also using it right now, so you can see how easy it is. I want to demonstrate that it's easy enough that even I can do it, which is saying something. I'm not very technical. I also recommend to people to try joining Toastmasters to practice public speaking, so you can be a better panelist on shows like this and a better spokesperson for the ideas and causes you care about. Having deep conversations, respectfully listening, even to those we disagree with, is the best way to heal the deep divides in our society. That's what Anne was talking about. She's very much into conscious listening, and I've learned a lot from listening to her. It's the best way to communicate our core values to each other, and so we can realize that we're much more alike than we are different. Give each other the benefit of the doubt for a change. We also need to hear more about the solutions that might work, so we'll have the courage and the resolve to make the changes we need to thrive as a species. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Oh my goodness, what a delight. Sherry, again, you are the kind of person that just, you bring such light to the work that you do. It's just really fun to be with you. Thank you so much for all you're doing, and may we work together to, I mentioned that we are in the Gardens of Global Unity, which we consider a project incubator. So you've mentioned quite a few seed ideas that we can put there and help to grow. And what we consider is that each of these seed ideas has a global network of support of people who want to help you and our young people to really make something wonderful. And being able to give hope. And I really appreciate that you brought in the necessity of core values, you know, being able to express core values. And that brings us to our next topic. On this Earth Charter Principle 14, it says, we recognize the importance of moral and spiritual education for sustainable living. And Amy Brooks, you have been working with Interfaith Community for quite some time. And I wonder if you could talk with us about how you see this moral and spiritual education in your own life.
Thank you so much, Sue. I really appreciate the invitation to be here. I'm delighted to be here with all of you today, and especially for the opportunity to talk about green faith as an example of moral and spiritual education when it comes to sustainable living. In 1992, Green Faith began working with congregations, first in the Northeast, but then around the country, to learn how to be better stewards of creation. Together, we dug into scripture and story to rediscover the connections between earth and God and people, and to be reminded that humans were tasked with the job of caring for the earth. Not surprisingly, every tradition teaches this in some way. We supported congregations as they held Earth Day worship services, took steps to stop using plastic and styrofoam, learned about carbon footprints, and put solar panels on the roofs of their congregations. And we celebrated as congregations educated children, youth, and adults, and received Green Faith certifications for improved use of energy and water. In essence, we were developing communities of practice as people took the good and necessary steps towards more sustainable living, grounded in their moral and spiritual outlook. And Green Faith was by no means the only organization doing this work. But together we were seeking to live in right relationship with the earth and with each other. Sadly, however, these steps did not result in the level or scope of change that was needed. Our efforts were too small, too scattered, too disconnected. For many, we now believe that climate change is with us already. And by some estimates, we have less than 10 years to mobilize our entire planet to make the changes we need to mitigate the worst outcomes due to climate change. At Green Faith, we realized we needed much bigger steps, much greater numbers, and with a sense of connection and an overarching common goal. Rather than focusing only on individual and congregational choices, we realized that we must also look at the choices being made at the national level by corporations, financial institutions, and governments. These large-scale decisions have global impacts, and too often, the decision makers are putting the profits of the well-being of the whole, sacrificing people and the planet in that process. These decisions create a climate of disruption rather than a climate of peace. Our faiths ground us. They teach us what is right and wrong. We know that polluting the earth and causing suffering to animals and humans is wrong. We can no longer, in good conscience, passively support extractive industries that sacrifice ecosystems and people's abilities to live in the communities of their ancestors. Instead, at Green Faith, we believe we must find the courage to live our moral convictions, depend on our spiritual practices to ground us, as we state calmly, clearly, and strongly that we must find another way forward. We must step into the light and speak the truth. In the Abrahamic traditions, we must learn from the prophetic side of our faith. Faith grounds us by creating relationships among us with God, however we define that, in order to become what I would call communities of practice. We learn by doing. We do not come together just to store up information in our brains. We have to come together and learn how to live it out and to practice what we believe. Otherwise, as James says in the New Testament, faith without works is dead. So the final step that Green Faith is taking to invite people into those communities of practice is to create what we are calling circles of care and resilience. These circles are the locus of community acting on local issues of all different types. But the circles are joined together nationally and internationally to act on our beliefs and to call on our leaders to be accountable to the decisions they are making and to lean into their own best selves and our global common self-interest. That is a way to peace. And this is why on October 17th and 18th, we are inviting people of faith around the world to join us in a collective day of action to hold our world leaders accountable. It is time to call our leaders into relationship, into conversation, into community, and into accountability. This is something people of faith know how to do, from the shores of India to the mountaintops of the United States. And at Green Faith, we believe it is time for us to learn how to do this again. I hope that you will encourage your community of faith, your workplace, your schools, and your neighborhoods to join us on October 17th and 18th. And to inspire you with media and art, I'm going to share this little video with you. If you'll give me a minute of Zoom grace to get it called up here and share my screen, because I'm always slow at doing this. And I get super nervous and then I start to take longer. Share screen, there it is. I can do this well. Okay, you see my video there. Let's see if I can make it big enough or bigger than it is right now. What do I need to click here, friends?
The little box in the right-hand corner, Amy.
The little box in the right-hand corner, which one?
In the black box in the right-hand corner, lower right-hand corner.
Oh, lower right-hand corner, black box. Oh, yes, thank you. I see it now. Yay, okay, here we go. Thank you so much.
You're trying to lose belly fat, stop doing
Whoops.
cardio. Right? Well,
And here's that
Wonderful.
grace again. Sorry, my dear, you have to go.
Yeah. Amy, that was just wonderful. And what a fitting ending to this whole
stop running hours.
segment. Whoop. Because here we are on a planet that is warming way too fast, making changes that we feel like is out of control. But what you have showed us is that there are people taking charge. And this is a way that this is part of the story that I want our young people to know, that this is happening on our planet, that people of all people in places everywhere of whatever faith-based or not, that there are just so many ways that people are helping to make a world that works for all. And so as we work together with Angie and the young people who are telling this story in their own way for their generation, we want to just be able to share all of the strengths that our speakers today have brought to the mix. And it's just really wonderful to be part of this and to see when the Earth Charter first came out in the year 2000, my thought was, oh my goodness, I want to see people who are doing, who are living each of these principles. And here it is 20 years later, and you can just call on them and have them come to a Zoom meeting. And so thank you, each and every one, for being part of this story that we as a human family are telling. And Rick, maybe you can take it away here.
All right. Well, this has been really fabulous. I want to invite people to join the panel that Sue and I will be co-hosting later, that we've mentioned a little bit before, which is the special edition of the Welcome to We show tonight with kind of an intergenerational cast. As Sue was talking about, that's at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And you can see that at the We Campaign website, the We Campaign Facebook page, I should say. So it's facebook.com/the We Campaign. And also coming up even before that at 4 p.m. Eastern time is a session that Humanity Rising is broadcasting. It's a special environment panel with faith leaders who are working on the environment. The title is Faith in Humanity to Solve the Climate Crisis. And the guests will be Patrick Carolan, Jim Ansell, Ruth Ivory Moore, and especially Karenna Gore, who is Al Gore's daughter. And all of these leaders in the faith community are coming together for that discussion. So that's 4 p.m. and it's being broadcast by Humanity Rising. And I think we accomplished what we like to do with all of our 11 days of global unity panels, and in general, the We the World panels, inspire, inform, and involve. You watching and many more people in creating a world that works for all. That's 3 I's that make a we, to inspire, inform, and involve. So we can go from a me society to a we society. So I want to thank you all. And that's right. That's it. It's all about we, right? So thank you all, and we will see you very soon. Please get your information at we.net for all of the things we can do together going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's been my pleasure. Let us continue